remember much of the game, but it was a good one. Miami won. That's all that mattered. Yeah.
I could.
2 minutes out, guys.
I only met your son.
We have to care about the agents.
Intention, consistency, authenticity.
Cool, but as long as we're live. All right. So we are at TIAA Bank, Jags, the owner's suite. I'm sitting here with a couple of gentlemen. Some may look familiar, some may look foreign. So let's kind of go around the table, just tell everybody, let you know who you are. So obviously, let's start you.
Robert, I've been with the company for 2 years now. Actually, my 2-year anniversary was just
That's correct.
couple days ago. So, yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Rece, been here for just over a year now.
Right.
Year and
2 months. Yeah, year and 2 months.
Something like that. And
yeah.
Been killing it, so loving it, glad to be here.
Rock and roll. And somebody over here, I'm going to introduce him, is a good friend of mine from high school who ironically now works for the Jags, coming from New York, have worked for the Giants. So, let the fans know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Devin. Like Todd has said, kind of grew up with the Juliano family
big time.
in Jersey. Came down here last summer. Previously worked with the New York Giants, worked a little bit in the XFL after that for a year. And then once 2020 happened, I kind of had some time where I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do. Had this wonderful opportunity open up for me down here. So I've been with the Jaguars in our event and game operations department for about a year and a couple months now. So I started last July, and I'm coming up in season 2 right now.
Liking it? Loving it?
Loving it. I'd been to Jacksonville once before for a game when I was working with the Giants. So I was here for 2 days, basically, nothing crazy. I didn't really get to explore the area. Being here, seeing all the different pockets of the neighborhoods in the city has been awesome. I get a lot of Jersey vibes. Being so close to the beach. That's really what I love. I love that beach vibe, and I also love being able to go to Riverside or a different area that kind of has a different feel to it.
Totally different experience, right?
Yeah, completely different.
Relatable would be like Red Bank for us,
Exactly,
right? And then you head over to the beach.
I kind of almost like to think of it as like an LA where it's very spread out, very pockety.
So that's one thing about Jacksonville that I didn't know. Did y'all know this when you guys moved here? That Jacksonville is literally the largest city in America. I didn't realize this. I'm driving down here. It's 2013, and I'm with one of my best friends, Rudy. We're going to Flagler, and we're literally in the car, and he goes, "Is Jacksonville like a big city?" I'm like, "No, like small, super, like, like because I just think of city like the downtown area. So I'm like super small. I'm like, it's like basically like Tampa. Like there's like a couple big buildings, and that's it." Google, I mean, we're the Google era. It just says it's the largest city in America. I'm like, sick. And then obviously now, having worked in real estate, really start to see like the diversity of the different pockets of Jacksonville. So as we progress, let's kind of get in. So Robert hasn't been a guest on the podcast yet. When I kind of recap, let's hear like a little bit from you.
Yeah.
We're 2 years in. We just celebrated 2 years.
We did.
How did year 1 go? Did we hit our goal? And then where are we at in year 2?
So year 1, I started in 2020, and I really didn't know what to expect. I've always done sales. I was out of the military for a couple of years at that point, and so I started right out of 2020 in September. So I wasn't knowing what to get into, and so I joined the team again because I saw the direction that they were going in and saw a lot of the support that we get on the team. So my 2020 was really good. I got really deep into learning the system and the process, but my 2021 was incredible. Was a brand new agent, pretty much only in for a couple months, but had all my goals for 2021, had a lot of success. I did well enough to be able to purchase a home this year too.
Rock and roll. Congrats, man.
So that's definitely one of the biggest accomplishments that I have. So I bought a home recently, but my 2021 was great. My 2022, I strived for different goals and hit a lot of them, like we were talking about earlier, kind of off there.
Yeah.
I've had quite a few listings this year, and that was definitely one of the key things I wanted to increase in my business.
And not just listings, but high price point listings too. They weren't just just like I want to put these homes on the market. They were like pretty high end listings, which is awesome.
I started with a few normal listings, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 price points. Once you get into listings and like the 600, 700, 800, it becomes exciting. When you get your first one to list over $1 million, then you're like, all right.
You start sweating.
But no, the reality is that I'm not sweating is because of the team. We have so much support, realistically, that no matter what it is that I need help with, whether it's from my partner Louise or Brett, Brittany, Travis, anybody in the office, even down to my colleagues, if we need any help, it's it's really readily available. So there's no reason in our business to sweat the small stuff because we have the the support that we need.
Right. Love that. And we talked obviously before this too, that you were also a scholarship recipient because you were the second guest on the podcast.
Yep.
And you were only, what would we say, 60 days in, again, scholarship recipient. So recap, when kind of COVID happened, a lot of people losing their jobs in industries, DJ and Lindsey started this scholarship program that we would pay for people to go to real estate school, get licensed, and then come work with us, get experience, and then from there find out, like, are we a good fit for you, et cetera. But at least we were getting you into an industry or career path that you may not have ventured into via your salary base. So both of you were scholarship recipients, so I think that's pretty incredible. Rece, second guest on the podcast. Where were we at? We didn't even know what the podcast was yet. You were less than 60 days in.
Yeah.
And I don't even know, did you even have anything pending yet?
I think when we shot the podcast, I had just gotten my 7th pending.
Which is already just ludicrous. Could you imagine
60 days.
having just started real estate, not knowing you're having 7 homes? So like a normal agent on a good year would sell like 10, 12 homes alone, but having 7 pending in less than 60 days is dumb.
And you started in when?
July 2020.
Yeah.
21. July 21.
Yeah, because we just did. I think we're like a year and 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were just in, but that's pretty funny. So 7 pending, but now, so our goal was 20 homes year 1. We just celebrated just over a year. Like I said, we're a year and 3 months or so.
Right.
And goal was 20. Where did we land?
Yeah. So we're gonna be on track to do 29 this year. Which is awesome. Yeah. When I first jumped in, it was crazy. Like, you look on the National Realtor page, and it's only 6 homes for the average realtor in the state of Florida per year.
Right.
So I was telling family and friends, I'd be happy to do 1 a month. And, of course, we're coming into DJ and Lindsey, and we're talking about the amount of volume that everyone's doing, the sheer amount of numbers.
1 a month would be, like, laughable, I think.
Yeah. So, I ended up doubling that. So it was awesome. It's something I didn't dream of happening.
I think the
honestly.
one thing people sleep on, too, is, like, so how many years did you work for the Giants?
So I was with the Giants for 8 years.
Okay, so take 8 years of experience. That's basically what you got in a year's worth of 100%. Real estate and selling homes. So could you imagine walking into your position now after 2 months being like, well, I technically have 8 years of experience, right? Like, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
So I think that's just incredible. And aside from all this, everyone here, minus myself, is a huge football fan. So I was like, there's nothing more fitting. We have our first Jags home game of the 2022 season coming up. We're playing the Colts.
Yep.
Colts at home at the bank. Right now, I think you're in the fantasy league in the Jags office.
Yes,
you're in the
sir.
fantasy league in the STA office. Are you in any fantasy
I
leagues?
am not in any fantasy
Man.
leagues.
Are you?
Don't
Do you
have the capacity to handle it, to be straight honest with you guys.
So-
This just makes watching every game so much more fun.
I know.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's hear about what you think the 2022 season. So I recently, here's my contribution to this football talk, saw a meme that the AFC South, nobody won a game and 2 of the teams played each other.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's factual.
That's
Yes.
the outlook right now.
So where do you think, what's our biggest promise this year, and what do you guys think from the outside looking in, you being a Dallas fan, you being a Dolphins fan, what do you think the Jags' biggest struggles are? And I want to hear kind of from the internal side too. So like, where do you think we're positioned
there's
now?
a lot of positivity heading into this season. I think everybody knows and understands what happened last year with our coach and all the off-the-field drama that took place. I think everybody understands that, and we needed a reset. I think culturally, internally, and for the fans as well. Bringing along Doug Peterson, I think, is the first major step in that cultural reset button.
That's awesome.
He's a proven coach who has won a Super Bowl. He has changed cultures in Philadelphia before. He's coming off a year where he took a year off of coaching, so he got to spend some time with his family. I think that's very important, and he decided that he wanted to come down here and kind of help change that culture. I think getting him on board was the first big step. Obviously, we had another first-round draft pick. We had 2 first-round draft picks, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. We were here for the draft, and we're like packing up. We live streamed, and what we did is we tried to find homes in each city that the person was getting drafted to, like $1 million homes, just like, whatever. So we're like packing up. We're like, all right, let's go home. And we're like in the car on our way home. We're like, the Jags got another first-round pick. We're like, sick.
Yeah, kind of just sprung on us last minute.
So we saw the first round, the first first pick, but who was the second first rounder?
So Trayvon Walker was the number 1 overall pick who
Right.
we chose, who made a big impact in our first game already. And then Devin Lloyd was our second first-round pick. He suffered a little injury in training camp, so he's slowly been coming along. He did play some snaps last game. Hopefully those snaps increase as the year goes on. There's a lot of potential for him. I think our main focus this offseason was in the draft, we focused heavily on defense. We knew we wanted to improve our defense because defense in the NFL is huge. And then in free agency, we really highlighted on bringing in star players, bringing in offensive players, threats, weapons for Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
I think everybody knows Trevor Lawrence is the future of this franchise. He was drafted first overall last season. He's the quarterback of our future. The sky's the limit for him. So I think it was just about giving him those right pieces to kind of help him exceed expectations and to keep building of what he had last year. Like I said, he went through trials and tribulations last year, and he was in the wrong end of the stick. I think now putting that behind him, he learned a lot from what he experienced last year with that. So I think this year the sky's the limit, like I said, and I think there's a lot of positivity surrounding. I think these first 4 weeks are going to be big in just getting the fan base in. Last week, in week 1, we didn't win the game in Washington, but we were competitive. We were in it to the last minute of the game, and I think that's the first step is getting people to just to believe again.
Right.
Last year, I think all our fans were just like, "Oh, well, this is going to be another season, another stinker." This season, you can see that the team is there. Everybody's engaged. And
it's like you said. You mentioned the culture, something that we experience as
well.
Big
time.
The culture is gonna equate to the fans as well, and that's gonna enlighten the players. So it starts with with the players and everybody down there, and it just kind of spreads out from there like a cancer.
Right,
cool.
exactly.
And look, you win a couple games, you stack a couple wins on top of each other, you're going to get the fans, and everybody's going to be back on board. And that's going to happen. We're going to win games this year. I guarantee we're going to win games this season.
Absolutely, and it's funny that you said that because right after the Buffalo game last year that we won, huge upset, I think the next game's attendance was packed house. Everybody was riled up.
Yep.
I think we got stuffed. But the point was, is it was immediately back on top. They want. I mean, we say that the Jags have the most loyal fan base in the country, essentially, because of just the roller coaster that it is.
Yep.
Do you guys, as outside fans, obviously you support the hometown team? You're here. Mm-hmm. Do you find yourself cheating in a way? You're just I don't know how it lines up. Conference-wise, right? So I'm can you, as a Dolphins fan, root for the Jags and there's no conflict? Can you? I mean, the Cowboys are coming here this year.
Week 15,
Right. So, I know you said, your whole family is going to roll in here. It's going to be a big time for you guys. Are you hoping it's a good match or a blowout, as an opposing team?
No, I mean, I'm a first-year season ticket holder now for the Jags.
Hey!
So I am more than
Are the
pumped.
Cowboys going to win?
We don't know.
Are they going to give you a jersey?
I might have to suit up for them. We're not looking to. Week 1 was not very fun for us.
Yeah,
but, I'm just hoping it's competitive when it comes down to that. But I'm very excited for the Jags season this year. We have all the weapons that we need to win games. Like you were saying, we invested heavily in the draft on defense, where they needed to. Trevor Lawrence has the offensive line that he needs now to stay upright and be able to throw the ball downfield, especially to Kirk now with all that money they paid him. So the pieces are there, the roster's there. It's just a matter of going out and actually doing it, which they haven't been able to do in years. As you saw in week 1, they started slow, but the second half they came back and they made it a game. So
talent-wise, all the pieces are there. It's just going to be now, can they play as a team? Is the culture there? And I think you said the culture definitely feels there because we kind of almost feel that too. I mean, we have weapons, so to speak, on our team, but it's a matter of building that culture. And I think this year too, we're laying in hard on the culture to try and make the talent and the weapons have everything that they need, right? Because it works as this homogenous kind of thing. So when one thing falls, it's just a domino effect that could happen. I mean, when it comes to you guys coming outside in, the things you're learning, are these things that you're going to carry with you for a while, or it's kind of hey, this is a stepping stone in my career, but I want to go somewhere else? That's what I think is all going to happen with this team too when it comes to football. It's are these people here to get noticed and then they're waiting for a bag somewhere else, or are they here to kind of build something for themselves?
Right. Well, the 2017 team, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's nobody left from that team
I think
still
there's
here.
One player.
So these guys have never even won since they've been in the league. These guys have never experienced winning.
Right.
So
that's what they can share.
Dynamic. Yeah, once they start winning games, then that's all they're going to know. It's going to be in their DNA, and then they'll put that forward.
I mean, that's kind of what you guys experience too. I mean, you come in from somewhere, you guys immediately start experience winning, and now you're like, I don't know why. I hate the term buying in, but like you're almost like bought into the sense of like, this is my squad now.
Yeah.
Well,
right.
Kind of like you were talking about earlier, Rece, you know, when you first started mid last year, 2021, it was crazy market. You had to get in front of a home and in front of a buyer and write the contract right pretty much while you're at the home, or else you're going to miss an opportunity.
Give them an arm and a leg too.
And then kind of just like you said, you know, you go into real estate knowing that you're really only going to do 5 or 6 deals on average a year because that's what the statistics are. But we come to a team like DJ&Lindsey team and we're writing so many contracts. Even if we don't win them all, we're not perfect. Nobody is. But we just get the opportunity to write contracts, speak to listing agents, speak to buyers, do showings, get in front of buyers, do so many things that so many people do so much hard work for.
Right.
And we had an opportunity to do it at the DJ&Lindsey team where all the hard work was kind of done for us. So it was just kind of a well-oiled machine. We had to learn the process. So again, culture, having that atmosphere, having the leadership, having everybody behind you to be able to create the steps for success was, for me, when I came in 2020, we didn't see that height of the market until like early 2021.
Right.
So it was a really small window.
Because nothing was even 2020. Like there were cities that still weren't even fully open.
Yeah, and it was a very small window of a slower market until we really got into the mix of things. So for me, it was really nice to be able to have that period of learning, and then 2020 came in, and it's like you got to just use everything that you got, all the weapons, and you just got to use them because you're going to lose if not.
Right.
Let me ask something. So you guys keep mentioning that the amount of listings and closings that you guys are doing is way beyond average. What is the reason for that? Why does DJ&Lindsey have so many?
DJ&Lindsey?
Why?
It's very simple. Yeah.
So we're big on market share and providing a top-level service to the customer. So, yes, we get a ton of referrals, but what DJ&Lindsey did is like the strategy of like, okay, if we buy and understand how to buy the business and then service them really well, it's just going to compound. So everybody was able to buy leads from Zillow, Realtor.com, OpCity, you know, these other lead gen places, right? Okay. They have the market share. They have the web traffic. Then it became down to, okay, they care so much about the customer too, they're really going to start to compartmentalize where these go. Because like if you were just you and you get, I don't know, Zillow sends you a lead and you're just like, I'm on vacation, I don't care. That customer's pissed and they don't know who you are. All they know is like, F Zillow, right? So they're like, okay, we really need to care about where we're sending these things. So Zillow came up with a Flex Partner program where like there's all these benchmarks of like, you know, conversations, moving them down a funnel. They have their whole system. What Realtor.com did is they were just like, F that noise, we're just going to do a single market VIP partner for an area in this zip code, and we're going to just them. This is what it costs. You're going to get all the leads. There's no referral fee. They are yours. And it's based on performance and kind of customer review. Yeah. And that's what happened. So we yielded this contract for Realtor.com. So like even if you wanted Realtor.com leads, they're not available to you. They're through OpCity, which is like a different referral service, but they're just not available to you. So we have such a huge influx of inbound leads on top of then the market. They all came into here. So each year, DJ&Lindsey was doubling their business. Then all of a sudden, once the market went full tilt and the funnel went from like the funnel was here, but then it just went out this way because there was so much more volume coming in, we exploded. So like our goal, I want to say, was maybe 1,500 homes. Like 1,600, I think, was our goal because we had done 854 the year before, and we always wanted to double and we did 3,000.
Wow. Four times almost.
Yeah. So that was because 10 years, but 5 years in the making of like building these partnerships, making sure things are done properly. Yeah. Like that's why these guys are held to such a strict standard, is because it's usually from a lot of our partners, and those partners are all backed by Wall Street. So it's somebody else's money now.
So again, kind of answer your question, unlike your real estate of old or anybody that's trying to go into it, your typical standard brokerage, you're pounding pavement, you're
door knocking,
you're sphere of
touching
influence,
your sphere of influence,
friends, family, just doing whatever, circle dialing, all these different facets of real estate, and we just don't have to do that. So DJ and Lindsey get all these leads for us, and we're there just to connect with the customer and to get in front of them, set appointments, and all those leads that people pay thousands and thousands of dollars for, go out to lead and gen sources.
Right.
They've already done it for us.
Yeah.
So because of what they have accomplished, and now they have the contracts with Realtor and Zillow, we get to reap those benefits based off of what they did. So they hold us to a high standard because they kind of did all the hard work for us, and we get to see the benefit of that. So that's why we get so many leads, get in front of so many people, and sell 5-10 times the amount of the national average.
Right. I mean, so think about this: the both of them get into the industry 2 years apart, 1 year apart. Like, he has 7 homes under contract and literally did 0 marketing.
Zero.
Zero. Yeah. Right? Which is like the first thing you do when you're like, I'm new in something. I opened a new shoe store. I opened a new restaurant. Like, I need to do marketing so people know I exist.
Yep.
He literally was just like, no one knows who I am. He's just talking to people on the phone. He's like, let's go see this house, and like writing them up because all that stuff was done already. So it's like, it seems so good to be true because it was so thoughtfully planned, scheduled, like, hey, this is when this happens, this is when this happens. And these guys, if you just kind of do those things, it's like such a layup to do. It's literally crazy.
That seems like a very desirable place to be at if you know that your bosses, the people that own your company, are putting in that hard work that DJ and Lindsey seem like they're doing, and then you guys are reaping the benefits from it. Obviously, the entire company is as a whole, but you guys are stepping in, executing the bottom line of it, and then you guys are reaping the benefits from that. I mean, if you're new, like coming into it, why wouldn't you want to be involved in that and be a part of that team?
And you kind of like you talked about earlier, that was kind of my idea of coming into this. You mentioned the scholarship program. I was the casualty of being laid off in 2020, and I was living in North Carolina at the time. I wanted to do real estate. I actually did 1 week of real estate school for North Carolina. I called them and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go to Florida. And I found the Indeed posting for the DJ and Lindsey team. So one of my friends in North Carolina that was a realtor, and one of my military buddies that was a realtor, first thing that they said to me is find a team. Don't worry about any splits. Don't worry about any money. Right. Literally, words out of his mouth was find a team that's going to be able to coach you to be successful in real estate. He has no idea who the DJ and Lindsey team are, how we do our system, and literally that is what I found. Don't care about, but I found a team that's going to be able to guide me down a path of success that's going to be able to accomplish real estate at a higher level than if I just would have went out on my own. So, again, I had 4 years of experience wrapped up in one.
Yeah. And similar to Robert, like, the reason I came here was because I didn't have a sphere. I was moving from Ohio.
Yeah.
I didn't know a single person here. So I wasn't just going to go knock on random doors and have the cops called on me every hour, you know?
Or even know what you were doing was correct.
Right. So thankfully, I met some people down here who actually worked at another brokerage who told me about DJ and Lindsey and how well they were doing in the marketing, specifically Todd's team. Like, they see their stuff online.
It's
they're
really
like,
funny that somebody else told you about it.
Somebody else.
Dope. Well, why are you guys here?
Another brokerage, instead of recruiting me to her place, said, you should go work for them because they look like they're awesome. And that's exactly what I did. And thank God I did it because I'm in a great place now, and I love what I do.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know that story. That would have been a good story for the first podcast. But no, that's pretty wild because, that's ironic that she had, whoever this was, no shade, the wherewithal to tell you that this was a good spot, but then didn't come over here herself.
Yeah.
That was interesting. But I think it all kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like, if you can have all the things provided for you, but if you don't show up every single day, like, that's what you are meant to do, or if you have that passion to do. I mean, why did you come here to do what you do, right? You had this reset moment in 2020. You very well could have pivoted. This is your passion. You love doing what you do.
Yeah, I think that's a great question and something that I contemplated personally a lot. Again, just like you, I also got laid off in 2020. I was working for the second version of the XFL. We were halfway through our season. 2020 hit. They shut the league down. So I was kind of in, and at that point I had taken a risk taking that job, knowing that it was a startup league. Wasn't sure if it was going to be successful to start.
Was the Rock in on that
This
yet?
was pre-Rock.
Okay.
This was when Vince McMahon was
He only bought it last year, I think.
Yeah. So The Rock bought it after it had shut down from COVID. So at that point in my life, I was up in the air. I didn't know what I wanted to do, if I wanted to stay in New York, New Jersey, where I was living at the time. I kind of had nothing holding me down. I had family in Jersey still that I wanted to kind of be with, but there was nothing really holding me there. So I told myself, I'm going to just interview everywhere. I'm going to take the best opportunity that works best for me personally, and my career path, which is what I wanted to do.
Hell yeah. So wait, so who else was on the docket? It was Jags, and who else?
So I interviewed, I did tons of interviews. Some I only hit the first round and never heard back. Some I went to the final round and didn't end up getting the offers. At the end, I had received a job from a team in Texas with the MLS, the Houston Dynamo, I believe they are.
Yeah.
But I was still interviewing for a position at the Washington Commanders, the Jaguars, and the Packers at the time. And I was in those final stages of those interviews, and I just thought my potential in the NFL was much larger than if I were to go to the MLS.
Sure.
I'm sure the job would have been great. But I knew personally I wanted to kind of be in the NFL if I had the opportunity.
And having come from the Giants, right, you had 8 years of experience. Like you knew what you knew, and what you do is your passion. It's not necessarily who for. So I think that was probably,
So when it came down to it, I had received an offer from the Packers and the Jaguars kind of at the same time. What I looked at was, what's that potential for growth? What's that ceiling? Coming here, I knew that there was a possibility that we would have a new stadium in within a 5 to 10 year timeline. I knew we were building a new performance center. I knew we were building new offices. And I just knew that the team that I was coming into, I had the potential to grow that team within a couple years. Whereas Green Bay, I didn't really have that same potential there. So coming down here, plus
also cold
plus
as
it's
ever.
It's 80 to 100 degrees all year long.
Have you ever been to Jacksonville before you got the job?
I had been here once. I had been here once
visit?
for one day when I was working with the Giants. We played the Jaguars one season, my first season actually, and so I was here for one night. So I didn't really I didn't know what was down here. When I accepted the job, I didn't come down here to look at the area. I didn't look at my apartment beforehand. I had talked to just a friend who worked in real estate.
Well, the Jags are growing, and Jacksonville doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Just never stops.
Yeah. Jacksonville would be a beautiful city if they ever finish it.
Yeah. We'll be dead, but
I think that's part of what attracted me here was knowing that our owner, Shad Khan, wants to invest in the city. He wants to develop downtown Jacksonville. I think that's important. And again, going back to our earlier conversation, is getting people buying in, like you said, and getting people back on board to the Jaguars brand and the organization is giving back to the community, and not only just being able to visit schools and visit other communities, but investing in downtown Jacksonville and building a new hotel on the waterfront property, helping with the construction of the streets that seems like it's never ending. Having that is what really attracted me coming down here. And
right, things are happening, not like it's a city going to die.
Exactly. Knowing that if I was to go to Green Bay, it's again, both small markets in the sense of New York versus Green Bay, the city versus Jacksonville City. They're smaller markets, but there's growth here. There's opportunity.
Community,
The community is here. And I think in talking to people within the organization, people said the Jacksonville fans, they're here. If we're winning, Jacksonville fans are the first. They're going to be lined up at 8 a.m. ready to get in the building.
Yeah.
And I think that's important.
So how does I guess from you were with the Giants for 8 years, and we were talking about the culture earlier. How does the culture there and then coming here, like what's the difference for you now?
It's something that I was kind of caught off guard because I wasn't sure coming down here what the culture was going to be. I think one thing that I've noticed is that the vibe is very young, very energetic. That's the main thing that I notice when I step into the office every single day is people here are young, they have energy, they're ready to go get it. The culture in New York is much different, whereas people have kind of been in those positions for decades. So a lot of people, it's much more conservative, it's much more old school. That organization has been around since 1925. The Jaguars have only been in existence since 1995.
Right.
The Giants had 2 Super Bowl wins already at that point.
Right.
So there's that culture. There's a culture of winning history in New York, whereas here it's much newer. So I think that was a big adjustment for me, is just coming into it and being like, everybody expects to win a championship every single year in New York.
Sure.
Down here, that's not so much the case. That's changing, and I think that's part of what Doug Peterson coming in here wants to change that culture. And what's something that I wanted to change with my department is that I don't want to have that mentality that we're expecting to come in and be the Jaguars per se that were the past 3 years. I don't want to have that mentality. I want to come in and I want everybody to have the mentality that we're going to win this game. We're going to win every game moving forward, and we should be putting out 125% every single time because we're one of 32 NFL teams. It's not like we're one of 500 teams and we're the bottom. Even if we are the smallest market in the NFL, we're still one of 32 teams. That's something that you should take for granted. That's a very special thing that not everybody can say. So I think the culture is different, whereas it's not as conservative as New York. The demographics are a little bit different, where we have a lot of young fans coming to our games who are here to enjoy not only the game but the atmosphere as well. So I think that's something that was really exciting when I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go, because I can help influence that entertainment side of it. I can help put my stamp and control that environment of the fans on game days by doing more fun type things where I couldn't necessarily execute those things in New York because our fan base doesn't want those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's a lot of new movement just in sports in general, right? Like going back to like a history in your team is like, now we have the Raiders in Vegas. We have the Rams are now where we're in,
Los
but they
Angeles.
were first. They were in, where were they?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. Then they're in LA.
Yep.
The Chargers, did they rebrand or something different with the
They were
Chargers?
San Diego, now they're LA too.
Now they're LA too. Yeah. So there's like a lot of movement, a lot of new things happening. I think obviously as technology and everything starts to move forward and it starts to get brought into the stadium and teams, it's interesting to see how teams latch onto it. I mean, we obviously here, I think, are these video boards like the largest video boards in any NFL stadium?
Yeah, I think somebody just took
They
over
were at
number
one time, for
maybe
sure, yeah.
Houston or
I thought it was AT&T. No,
Dallas?
AT&T's not it. So ours are the biggest in terms of like length.
Okay. Yeah.
There is a video board, I think that's bigger pixels, and it might even be a stadium in Europe. I'm not exactly sure, but when you go visit some of the other stadiums, you see these boards and they blow you out of the way.
That's what I'm saying.
They
Like
are
the atmosphere
crazy.
here is really cool, and I think that's one thing that is really cool. And I'm sure you see it now too. Is that this stadium, regardless of the performance of the Jags, is for the most part always electric right off the start because they're here every single time. I don't want to say they're hopeful, but like they're in it for the Jags.
Yeah.
Right. It's only until kind of like the wind gets sucked out of your sails where you kind of like, okay, I kind of took another beating on this one. But like there's always, I've never experienced, even last year, this like sense of defeat.
Yeah.
Like until literally the game was done. Then you're like, okay, it's over.
Well, it's funny you say that because, again, the people here in Jacksonville, they're going to these games, but they also go to some other sports events here, the Shrimp and the Iceman. I tell you, the Iceman games, those people are electric. It's those Iceman games, and it's the same people. It's our same fan base. It's our same group of people that are supporting all the local teams, NFL team here. So, yeah, they really love their city community, and, they show it out here on Sundays.
Same with concerts and shows that come here.
Yeah.
Hosted the same. We got dailies
Right.
across the
Yep.
way
Right
here.
here.
Yep.
So, I mean,
It's Sublime and Incubus last
when
month
we're
there.
here.
Where,
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
yeah.
Rock and roll.
Great
I think
shows.
I think that's a big thing and especially in comparing it to New York, like you were mentioning earlier, is that New York has 14 professional sports teams. Jacksonville has 1.
Right.
So when this team wins, I think again you see that sense of community all come together because it is that one team, that one community, that one group that we all come together and support the team. Whereas in New York, you have the Giants, the Jets, the Yankees, the Mets, the
We don't have
Knicks,
a
the
huge
Nets. It's
college team here at D1.
Right.
We don't.
Florida, Georgia is like
Yeah,
the next thing that happens
it's,
here.
it's not local to the area.
No,
so
yeah.
You're right. This is the one thing that we have here in
this is
Jacksonville.
it, yeah.
And I think the reason the fans are so loyal, I think they're very appreciative of Mr. Khan and the amount of money that he's put into the stadium, the city, the team. Relating back to DJ&Lindsey, the amount of funds and things that they put just for us new agents, like that they put in to help us.
Believing in something, I think,
Investing
is
in
the
a
biggest
brand.
thing.
Yeah.
It's just believing in something, right? Like
Yeah.
DJ and Lindsey believe in you guys, to be able to build your own business. Shad, believes in this city, in this team, in this community. So I think that's huge. Kind of to wrap up, do you offhand know who do you think is going to be our biggest challenge Jaguars-wise this season? Obviously, you're going to say the Cowboys, but I'm saying, realistically, looking at our schedule, who do you think is going to be our biggest challenge, and where do you think are definitely some winnable games?
No, I think there's a big I think there's a chance that we win this Sunday.
I was going to say, this is a big one. You know,
our division is not...
Tannehill and Henry coming off a good season, too. I think this is going to be a big game for them, especially at home, coming off of a game that they played over in Washington.
I'd agree.
This could be a big home game win for them, especially coming off a team that was in the conference, the AFC?
Yep.
Their AFC
Yep, they were favorites. They were favorites to win the AFC last year.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good test. Indianapolis, of all the AFC South teams, I think is the most ready to take that next step.
Yeah,
with
I'd
Matt
probably
Ryan
agree
at the
with
helm. So I feel like if the Jags can at least hang around, I mean, you play them twice in a 4-week span. They play them this week, and then they got LA and Philly, and then they play Indy again. So twice in a 4-week span, you're winning one of those games for sure. So if they can be competitive, I think the Jags should be very happy.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, winning your divisional games. If you win your divisional games, you have a very, very high likelihood of making the playoffs because hopefully you just say everybody goes 500 on all your other non-division games. You're most likely going to have the advantage over everybody else within your division. So I think that's the most important thing is, and you see it when you go down into the locker rooms and into the players' areas, the first thing you see is 3 portraits of basically our division teams with the dates of those games. Those are the most important games. Right. Obviously, the next game is the most important always, but when it comes down to it, you want to win those division games first. That's the most important, is win those division games. If you can win those games, you got a very good chance of making those playoffs.
It's for the taking, too. I mean, Tennessee is trying to figure things out. I mean, they just took away their top target, went to Philly now.
Yep.
Derrick Henry's not the same guy, unfortunately, so they're figuring out.
Tell it to my fantasy league.
Indianapolis, new quarterback, so they're trying to put the pieces together. Houston, brand new head coach. They're a young team, too. So the Jaguars have the pieces. They have the roster to do it.
And the opportunity.
Yeah.
And like you said, no one in the division has a win yet.
Right.
So there's 2 teams that have a tie, which takes them a little bit ahead of Houston and us because we're 0-1. But again, one game. That's just one game. You win this week, you can be at top of the division by yourself.
Right. And then playing to hold that, right? Not just patting yourself on the back.
Exactly.
Like,
and
hey,
then
that's in the past. Let's move on.
Yep. And then it's the next game, and it's building on those wins. I think the biggest thing is building on wins, which this team hasn't done in a couple of years.
Can we general consensus that you think Peterson is going to be more partial to our fans than Philly fans?
Now he will be.
I was joking with one of the other guys. The Philly fans are just across the board, any sport, just awful.
They're rough.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of times going to Philly. When I was with the Giants, I would travel with them and go to those games every single year. You don't walk that parking lot with a visiting team shirt.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nope. Especially being a Dallas fan.
I
deal with Philly my entire life. If there's one team I do not want to see, it's Philly.
They would egg our cars, the player buses as we would pull in. They would throw eggs at our van every single time. It's
the worst.
Yep, that's reckless. Well, this Sunday is going to be exciting. Obviously, now that we know a huge opportunity to win and that it's going to, it could be a really big win, right? Put us at the top of the division, given that nobody has actually won week 1. So, gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming here. Thank you, obviously, for also helping make this happen. Don't forget, this podcast is sponsored by Audible. Audible is a great way for you to listen to books instead of read them because you're on your way to showings or doing all kinds of other stuff, or you're at a Jags game, or you're in meetings all day. You can get our promo code. It's tryaudible.com/DJ&Lindsey. It'll be in the link in the description. But also, share, follow us, DJ&Lindsey everywhere. Rece, Robert, Devin, thank you, gentlemen, so much. And we'll see you on the next one, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
This seat is ice cold.
Yeah. This seat was awesome. Literally blowing.